In this video I want to show you how I built a fascinating variant of the Messerschmitt 262, the HG3 or Hochgeschwindigkeit 3, which translates to High Speed version 3. The Me-262 was one of the first operational jet fighters, known for its remarkable speed and devastating armament. I've recently built this HG3 variant in 48th scale from Amusing Hobby. As you can see, I've added a what-if touch with a special livery and adding all kinds of details here and there. Alongside the aircraft, I've also created a detailed Luftwaffe airbase, complete with figures, vehicles and all sorts of intricate elements. The build started with the internal structure of the aircraft. First, the forward landing gear bay was glued in, followed by further structural work. The two engines inside are represented fairly well, and in the end they remain visible through the gear bay. The engines and bulkheads were a very tight but reliable fit in the fuselage. I used plenty of glue and gave the parts enough time to dry so nothing would wobble later. Meanwhile, I assembled the tail section. This kit includes both the standard tail and the vtail. I chose the vtail because it makes this 262 variant look even more futuristic. Again, everything fit together beautifully. Next came the cockpit. For the first time I tried these 3D decals from Quinta Studio. And I must say they look truly impressive. However, you should remove the molded on details from the plastic parts before applying them. With my usual tools it was difficult to reach every spot. It's an even tougher job if sanding happens to be your least favorite part of modeling, as it is for me. That's why I treated myself to a reciprocating sander from Display. It comes with 8 differently shaped sanding heads, which make it easy to work on rounded or hard to reach areas. When using 3D decals in a cockpit, it's important to match the surrounding paint to the decals tone. Hataka and Emo didn't match perfectly, so I used MRP's RLM66, which was spot on. Applying the 3D decals was quite simple. Just like regular waterslide decals, you soak them and position them. With all those tiny knobs and switches, the result looks far more realistic than hand painting. Incidentally, the Amusing Hobby kit doesn't include any cockpit decals at all, so the Quinta set is definitely worth getting. It also includes tiny levers, which I glued in with superglue. Fiddly work that demands a steady hand. Holding my breath while placing them felt like defusing a bomb, but it paid off. The result looks fantastic. The pilot seat also comes with belts. I've never built a cockpit with this much detail before. Since the area in front of the instrument panel remains visible, I also added LED wire here to represent cabling. Again, delicate work, but this time I really wanted to take my time. But the detailed cockpit created a new problem. Amusing Hobby only provides a one-piece clear canopy, so it can only be shown closed. Therefore I got myself a handle for razor saws and very carefully cut the part into 3 pieces. That was risky. I was already thinking about how to disguise a ruined canopy with a tarp if necessary. But to my own surprise, it worked out perfectly. I cleaned up the cut edges with the Display sander using a fine grit. It was a delicate job, but in the end I had 3 clean parts and could display the cockpit open. If you want to try something similar, A high quality razor saw with a proper handle is absolutely essential. The sander is more of a luxury for lazy modelers like me, but I ended up using it constantly throughout the build. By the way, I don't have any sponsors, so every product you see in my videos is bought by me. I share only my personal opinion. Since I wanted the model as detailed as possible, I drilled out the cannon barrels next. I had to be very careful not to damage the surface. I then glued in 1mm brass tubes to represent the blast tubes of the Mk108 30mm cannons. A lot of effort for such a small detail, but I had seen it in one of my sources. Historical accuracy wasn't really my main concern here. After all, the MA262HG3 only existed as a wind tunnel model. I was going for visual impact, and I think these little additions work really well. In fact, I've never used so much superglue on any project before. With the cockpit finished, I finally moved on with the main assembly. After installing the cockpit, I glued the upper and lower fuselage halves together. Also, I filled the nose with plenty of fishing weights so the model wouldn't sit on its tail later. Joining the fuselage required patience. I clamped everything with clothespins and let it dry thoroughly. To secure the tail, I used a rubber band. This revealed some ugly seams, especially around the air intakes and nose. I filled these with Vallejo putty. Once again, the display sander proved invaluable. With the rounded head, I could sand the intakes perfectly. First coarse sanding, then fine. The result wasn't flawless, but much better than sanding by hand. I rescribed some panel lines and replaced lost rivets with a rivet making tool. Another handy product is the Space Black Tinted Filling CA. Applied with fine fibers or a wire or even a single hair, it works excellently for filling the tiniest gaps with precision. Next I masked the clear parts. Because of the canopy shapes, this was a bit tricky, but not a real problem. If you are new to this, I've linked a tutorial in the top right corner that walks you through the process. I glued the clear parts with Ammo Ultra Glue. Don't use plastic cement or super glue, since these can fog up the clear plastic. For the middle section, which I wanted displayed open, I added a small strip of plastic card. The clear parts were first sprayed in the cockpit color RLM66. I then primed the entire model with grey MRP primer. This revealed some more seams that needed fixing. Since the Vallejo putty shrunk while drying, I added more of the filling CA. After sanding again, the result was much improved, though some areas still needed touch-ups. I then painted the intakes with a metallic shade from MRP. On the underside I tried something new. I masked off a few panels and gave them a metallic finish. Then I used an RLM02 marker to add lines on the edges, suggesting filler or recent repairs, as if the panels had been left bare or freshly replaced. Afterwards I masked these areas and the wheel wells and sprayed the underside in RLM76. The fuselage sides received a full coat, while the same color was lightly used for pre-shading on the wings and top of the fuselage. When it came to the camouflage scheme, I had almost complete freedom, since so little information exists about the ME262 hochgeschwindigkeit or high speed variant 3. It was a further development of the 262 with significantly improved aerodynamics. It never reached prototype stage though. According to the sources I came across, the HG3 never went beyond a wind tunnel model and some project drawings. So that left me with plenty of freedom for the paint scheme, so I decided to try a fictional desert camouflage. I began with a base coat of RLM 79 sand yellow, in thin coats allowing the pre-shading to show through. Wings, tail and fuselage topside got their base color. At lowered pressure I sprayed small mottles on the sides. MRP paints can be sprayed very finely, even with a 0.4mm nozzle. For the desert scheme itself, I added mottles in RLM 80 across the entire surface, inspired by the real schemes seen on BF-109s in North Africa. I carefully modeled the entire model, which, as you can imagine, took quite a while. I wasn't sure at first if I would like how it turned out, but overall I was happy. Though a few details were still missing, so I painted some areas in RLM 70. Tail ends, nose, wingtips, and the wing roots at the engines. Perhaps in reality these were reinforced panels designed to strengthen the wing structure. On my model they just provide some extra visual interest. Since rudders and noses were often painted yellow in Africa, I did the same on my 262. Several coats were needed for proper coverage, but the result looked quite good and added some visual variety to an otherwise rather monotonous paint scheme. Another detail I added was a fuselage band, painted in a black-white-black pattern. This design was inspired by markings used by some Luftwaffe units during defense of the Reich and bomber interceptor missions, but again I didn't aim for perfect historical accuracy. After careful masking I sprayed white first, then the outer black stripes. One downside of the kit is the decals. There are very few. Placement is unclear in places, so I raided my stash. From a Hobby Boss kit I took stencils for the fuel caps, warnings and many more. Unfortunately, these decals were overly glossy, which I fixed as best as I could in later steps. For the Balkenkreuze or crosses, I used black decals from an Academy TA-183 kit. I also wanted to add walkway markings, but those Hobby Boss decals seemed to dissolve the moment I touched them. Therefore I abandoned those, but applied the crosses with great care to avoid tearing. In my opinion, the white crosses wouldn't have worked here. The black ones paired with the black-white fuselage band looked far more menacing. I also added a skull emblem from the Amusing Hobby decals on the nose for a bit of extra attitude. My idea here was to depict a bomber destroyer stationed somewhere in the Mediterranean, maybe southern Italy, Malta or even North Africa. I'm not entirely sure all these markings are historically accurate, but since this is a what-if project, I was perfectly happy to take a few creative liberties. Next I applied a wash to bring out all the rivets and pen lines. I wiped off the excess with a cloth and suddenly the aircraft really came to life. Those accentuated pen lines and thousands of tiny rivets gave it so much character. I kept the weathering fairly restrained. Using the Tamiya Weathering Master set, I added light gun soot around the cannons and some fuel and oil stains. I detailed the landing gear with lead wire for cabling, including brake lines on the wheels. Small details that really add up. To make the aircraft look even more menacing, I mounted some Ruhrstahl X4 air-to-air missiles from the Hobby Boss kit. I painted them entirely using AK markers. For precise alignment, I measured and marked everything beforehand. With a bit of adjustment, the pylons fit well to the wing shape. The landing gear legs also fit securely, as did the gear doors and actuators. Nothing wobbled. After the X4 missiles were installed, I removed the masking tape from the canopy. Light overspray came off easily with a toothpick. Then I replaced the pitot tube with brass tubing, since the kit part was unconvincing. The whip antenna was also upgraded with wire. Finally, I glued the last canopy section with ultra glue. Again, I added details made from lead wire, the canopy opening mechanism, and a tiny handle on top. Barely visible, but it's there. With all these final details in place, my Messerschmitt 262 HG3 was complete. Now let's take a closer look at the finished model in the slideshow and admire it on the custom base I created. I thought this base deserved a dedicated video, so I won't go into detail here. Be sure to check it out on my channel. Although the amusing hobby kit was excellent, I still invested a lot of time into the assembly, painting and adding intricate details. Therefore, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. Just keep in mind that this is more or less a fictional aircraft, so any inconsistencies are just creative freedom. To wrap things up, I had a lot of fun with this project and enjoyed adding my own twist with this fictional livery. It has definitely fueled my interest in the Luftwaffe 1946 topic even more. Therefore, I'm excited that my next What If project, a TA-183, is already in the works, as you can see here. Be sure to check out my Facebook and Instagram channels for updates on that. Again, it would be great to read your feedback in the comments below. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.